Oh, hello. There we go. As you can imagine right now, everything's just a mess. Hello from Hurricane Headquarters. This is the Yard Sign. Coming to you live as we always do Monday night. I hope you're all having a great time whenever, wherever you may be listening. This, of course, is the best time to catch up on previous episodes if you haven't done so already. Again, you can do so on the audio version of our podcast. Just look for your favorite podcast platform. Also, for the video version, make sure you look for us on Facebook and YouTube. Johnny Torres here, your host as always, excited to be with you despite the impending disaster that is Hurricane Ian. I don't know, it may be, it may not be. I mean, again, if you've lived here in Florida, you know that you pretty much wait for the last about 24 to 36 hours to figure out what you're really going to do. But you know, we got the studio ready. As you can see, we're all protected here, ready to go. Wait till you see the rest of it. We've got a lot of great topics for you. We'll talk Hurricane 101 for all you newbies from New York, California, wherever you may have moved from across the country. I got a buddy of mine who moved here from Minneapolis, from Minnesota. That's crazy. DeSantis versus Newsom. Is it an upcoming election or a UFC showdown? We'll break that down in just a bit. General election update. Again, as the pieces keep moving, are Republicans slowly getting back into a position of success for the midterms? We'll break that down. And we the best airport. That's right. A little shout out to Tampa International. We'll give our love letter to them here to wrap up tonight's show. Joining us is a friend of the show, also a benefactor of the show, and certainly a benefactor to us all. Because he works so hard in our community, helping our elected officials get reelected and getting some candidates on the map. Jeff Hawks joins us tonight, along with Anibal, David Cabrera at the big table. Look at those guys. You guys are so prepared. Look at you guys. Gotcha. Oh, sorry.
We're back on. No, it's not okay. This happens every single time.
I've got a lot on my mind.
Bring
Okay?
people on.
I think I'm being edited.
We're trying to be like legit about this.
I've got hurricane and flooding on my mind.
All of a sudden, our mics don't work. I don't understand. Why can't we be a little professional about this?
Well, because I'm in charge of it. I decide when you talk.
I'm the captain now.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why I don't get paid the big bucks.
And again, as you can see, we're well prepared here in the studio. Got our water buckets ready. Got our water bottles ready. A little extra gas in the tank. Nebo always got a little extra gas in the tank, but you know,
It's a hybrid life.
Well, let's talk about this. I'm a born and raised Floridian. And Nebo.
You from Miami?
That's right. I mean, I lived through Andrew, son. No, funny story. In case, just to make sure that I never try to run for office using this story. Okay, I was actually not even in the country when Andrew hit Miami.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
you're one of those.
Totally missed it. I was in Colombia doing my summer thing.
You missed Andrew. You missed 9/11. I mean, what else is there gonna happen?
No, I didn't miss 9/11.
You were supposed to be in the tower.
Well, yeah, I barely missed 9/11.
So you missed? Did I lie?
I wouldn't say I missed it, Bob.
And Jeff, you're an old person. How long have you?
Oh my God.
I'm just glad to be here. I mean, I love supporting the Yard Sign and all the love that I get when I come here.
And I wonder why it is that we struggle to get guests on the show, and I think I might have figured out why.
Some days.
Oh man, my appearance fee just went up.
There we go.
I've been here for almost 30 years. I will say for most of the hurricanes, I've ridden them out. I would say the worst experience would have been down in Minnesota Key. I can't remember the hurricane that went across there, but I did see a storm surge come up about 10, 12 feet in a few hours. And this one looks pretty serious. And my only Hurricane 101 story that I would share here today is, if you are going to evacuate, and you should heed all warnings, is don't pull a Jeff Hawks and evacuate into the path of the hurricane. Make sure you plan your route accordingly.
Yeah, that's definitely a good bit of advice.
I don't even want to know where that.
So you moved here right after Andrew, because Andrew was 92.
Yes.
And then before the show, you told me you moved here about 94.
I moved here December of 93. So I got to see all the coverage, a lot of they use a lot of military down there for that.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I mean, it's a horrible joke that I like to use, but I that's my humor anyways. Which is, Homestead is so nice they built it twice. I mean, it was literally a parking lot. I mean, there was nothing left, nothing. You would have thought it was just farmland, for miles, because it literally took everything with it. And of course, I mean, the aftermath, much like Katrina, it was just weeks and weeks of cleanup and cleanup and cleanup. And I did, I was a kid at the time, but I did some volunteering, on the donation side, and on Homestead was like an hour from where we live. We live in the northern end of the county. But to think about the impact it had, think about how many people that displaced, that really it shifted almost everybody north. We ended up moving north, only about maybe like 5 miles or so, into the next county. But the property value in Miami-Dade County went up because everybody who lived in Homestead had to go somewhere, and it was going to be months before they could get their homes rebuilt. Yeah. And so, even still today, if you go down to Homestead, there are still patches of Homestead that have been untouched since Andrew in 92.
Yeah, my just another quick story about it. I just graduated from college and was in transportation. We did a lot of work, and a lot of the transportation companies do a lot of work with FEMA. I mean, it can be anything from delivering water to supplies to setting it up. So over the years before I started owning my own companies, did a lot of work. We saw a lot of, learned a lot from Andrew, learned a lot from Katrina, but it's incredible what goes on behind the scenes in terms of what people need, the logistics, how to get it there, how to set it up. But it was definitely a crazy one down there.
I think my craziest story, before we go into the 101 for all these new Florida transplants, is the season that I think there were like 4 or 5 that hit the state in one season, and it was friends that were living in Miami. 04. Friends that were living in Miami, and they actually evacuated to Orlando, and then we had to help them in Orlando get evacuated from there.
Oh, yeah.
Because the hurricane just followed them through the middle of the state.
Well, when Irma was coming through, again, it came in, we thought it was going to hit Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. It actually came in just south of here. I think it was where you said. It was around the Minnesota area, Manatee, Sarasota area. We were originally thinking about going down to Miami, but then it actually kind of raised. It just kind of like just along the outside of the kind of the Everglades there, along Southwest Florida. It got real close down there. It actually did some damage. Remember Naples and Fort Myers?
Oh yeah.
And so that wasn't an option. And then we're like, okay, well, we got family in Jacksonville. Let's go to Jacksonville. And then something just told us, man, let's kind of wait this out. Sure enough, it cuts through Minnesota, cuts through Lakeland, and hits Jacksonville.
Then up to Savannah. I was at
that's
Savannah.
Right. That's right. Up to Savannah.
Yeah. They shut Savannah down.
And this is a great prelude into like the larger conversation. Is that again, today's first topic is going to be Florida hurricane season for 101 for all of our Florida new transplants. Those that have come in from New York, California, everything else. This is something that is a consequence of living in paradise, which is that you get to see your natural disaster coming at you at least 5 days in advance.
Yeah.
We don't have earthquakes. Half the state isn't on fire. We don't have 55 tornadoes over a weekend. The flash flooding isn't that big of a deal. And at the end of the day, you don't need an app that tells you where the poop is in your city.
Right.
This is Florida. We have hurricanes. And because we have hurricanes, you have a lot of resources. But I would say the number one thing that people need to understand is that as a Floridian and as a Southerner, you need to be self-sufficient for at least 72 hours to a week. I think that's the main issue for a lot of people that just don't understand that you need to be self-sufficient in Florida and in the South, because it hits all over from from Texas all the way to Panhandle and onto the other side of the coast on both sides. So like, if you don't know how to be self-sufficient, this is going to be a very big course that you need to understand. That you're supposed to have enough water to last you a week. You're supposed to have enough non-perishable foods, batteries, documentation basically in a bucket of some kind that if you had to get up and go, you can just pick it up and get up and go. Like your car should already be fully gassed. I mean, these are just things that people have been preparing for the last few days now. And you don't want there to be a run on the banks. I cannot believe this gas is still here. But when it comes to what's going on, the gas.
They're blocking your beautiful face.
I know, I try not to. But it is true. Gas, food, shelter, everything else. And also listen to your authorities in regards to when you should evacuate. If they're telling you to evacuate, then you probably should be figuring out where to go and evacuate. Some people won't, and that becomes a detrimental later on when someone needs to save grandma in the middle of Bayshore. But it's probably going to happen. I'm looking forward to seeing what this occurs because it's a spaghetti where this is going to hit. At the moment, you have some hitting towards the Panhandle, you have some going straight to Sarasota, and I think that's something that a lot of people are concerned about right now, that we just don't know what's going on. My dad calls it the cone. It's not the cone of uncertainty, it's the cone of anxiety is what my dad calls it, because we have no idea where it's going to go.
Well, and again, most Floridians by this point, have gotten accustomed, to the timing. I got kind of lucky that I ended up going to the grocery store on Friday anyways, just by pure coincidence, just to kind of save some time. And of course, word was just getting out that it might be headed this way. And so while I was there, I mean, they were already ransacking the water at Costco.
Is that the word you're going to use?
It was ridiculous. I mean, you had these people walking out with like 8 cases of water, and they were already running out. Now they were starting to bring some out of what they had in reserve, but still, I mean, it was by Friday you knew who was a Floridian, who wasn't. The other thing I want to make sure, from a very serious kind of safety measure is, with the generators, don't turn them on unless you absolutely need them. And if you do need them, make sure you don't bring them indoors. Okay. Don't stick them in your garage, and then close your garage door. Not only is that a ridiculous fire hazard because it's probably close to all your stuff in your cars, but also, again, the toxic fumes that come from the generators kills people every hurricane unnecessarily. And so we see a lot of things like this that, again, it's one of those things that happen unnecessarily, and yet people make these common mistakes. And, we kind of make the joke that it's a lot of the newbies and a lot of people who've moved here and dealing with this for the first time. But honestly, it's not.
It's been a while since we've had a big hurricane get close to Tampa that it becomes a problem. Jeff, like what would be one of your recommendations in regards to how to deal with what we're about to deal with?
Just based on my experience, moving to Florida, of course, you always heard about hurricanes, but I think I think the worst thing that you could do is leave in a panic, or leave in the middle of it, or leave and get up the road and not have gas. My best suggestion is, if you're going to shelter in place, do all the things we're talking about, your sandbags, the authorities, listen, your water, make sure you have something to eat, but do not make the mistake of all of a sudden you've decided that you're going to stay, and then now the family's leaving, the wife, the kids, you're in a panic, and you get up the road and there's no gas and you're stuck on the road and this thing's coming across Florida. Trust me, the last one, the Savannah one, that was Irma, nobody could get gas. Right. There was no gas. And trust me when I tell you, there were cars stalled all over 75 up 301.
Well, and that was the one where Elon Musk kind of had to show his hand, because you had Tesla owners who hadn't fully charged their vehicles, and they were running out of battery. And it turns out that remotely they could actually give you more battery power. And that was a big reveal for Tesla. But, there were electric vehicles stranded. There were gas powered vehicles stranded. I would say if you haven't made the decision 24 hours before landfall, just stay where you're at
tomorrow night.
Yeah, so that's
around 10 to midnight tomorrow.
That's
you
the
need to know
rule.
what you're doing.
That's the rule.
Yeah.
The mayor was actually talking about that today, and so did the governor. That you should know, and Jeff Fox.
Thank you very much.
the unofficial mayor
in that order.
the mayor of Ybor City,
Soon to be mayor.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Don't put that on him. Don't put that on him, Ricky Bobby.
Oh my! I think I just cursed you.
Sweet baby and the older one.
See where it works out perfectly.
Don't put that evil juju on him, Ricky Bobby.
I will say this: the governor has already said that you should know, you should be planted where you're going to ride this out by tomorrow evening, tomorrow night. You don't want to be traveling afterwards. Now, there are situations, and I will say this, if the cone of uncertainty has it where Tampa is going to get a direct hit, I am putting the dogs and the wife in the car with my mother-in-law, driving 2 blocks to pick up my aunt, and we're heading to the suburbs.
National Lampoon's hurricane trip.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Understand, know where your exits are and everything else, and also the shelters have already been open. So I think we have a lot of options when it comes to here. But again, we don't know where it's going. It's notorious. The Bay Area is notorious. We have not had a direct hit in over 100 years, and the reason is because of the Bay itself. It provides that kind of buffer when it goes a little bit left, a little bit. It's like a bob and weave situation when it comes to the hurricanes. So we just don't know yet. And again, in the next 24 hours, we're going to know what's going to happen, and we're going to see it.
And again, if you haven't made the decision to leave by then, just stay where you are.
Just stay where you are.
Yeah.
Just one last thing, and I know everybody knows it, but I wanted to say it. One of the safest things you can do if you find yourself in a situation, I don't want to say what that might be, but hotel. Start looking online, start getting up the road, make a call. You know you have a place to get. That might be the, Ocala, that might be Leesburg. That's kind of our families,
And I think that what we can say maybe with some certainty with this hurricane is to go inland. And so, and of course, I'm sure I-4 is probably a disaster right now.
Oh, you could tell that people were leaving the city this morning.
But get north and get east, and those are probably the two best solutions.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's not that, again, the wind will be bad. It's the flooding. That's the biggest thing that people just don't remember because they haven't been here. And again, if you've been in Tampa long enough to deal with a thunderstorm in south of Bay to Bay, very quickly it turns into a flooding situation.
Yeah.
With a 10-minute rainstorm.
Well, and also don't forget there's alternative roads. People forget, there are roads that got us across this state before I-4 and I-75 were built. So, take State Road 60, take US 27, take, there's lots of alternate ways to get around the state.
Yeah, we have a lot of friends that live in Ocala. I'm probably going to go to
301.
301.
Yeah.
If things get as bad as I doubt they're going to get, we go visit Paul Skinner in Ocala.
Oh man! All right, thank you everybody for watching the Yard Sign. Again, we hope you are watching this safely and in a very much prepared situation for Hurricane Ian, as are we. Fortunately, again, we've kind of been through this a few times, so we're all kind of prepared, ready to go, which gave us the ability to do the show tonight for you guys. Again, we'd love to hear from you, and let us know what you're doing for the hurricane in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us on all of our social media platforms, especially on YouTube. Ring the bell so you can get notified when we go live. Now, the fun thing is, if you remember last week, we took apart the DeSantis airlines of migrants being dropped off at Martha's Vineyards, and really overshadowing what Governor Abbott has been doing in Texas now for some time with the buses leaving from Texas to Washington, D.C. to Chicago, Illinois. DeSantis now taking the brunt of the media attention for the Martha's Vineyard flights, but apparently there are going to be more flights to come, and a certain someone named Gavin Newsom trying to win a lot of brownie points with the far progressive left. Not only is he in the worst time possible deciding to outlaw gas-powered vehicles and natural gas, but he's decided to pick a fight with Governor DeSantis, who, again, easily one of the most popular governors in the country at this time, and potentially depending on what happens legally with President Trump, could be a 2024 contender. And so we were speculating. I mean, not only is Newsom already said that if Biden doesn't run, that he would jump in and run in 24. But what would a DeSantis Newsom showdown look like? And I'm not talking politically. I mean, it's kind of fun even to think about these two guys. They're both good looking guys. Now, mind you, one of them looks like he'd probably be like a villain in an action film. I mean, Newsom looks like he's like the Hollywood governor. You know what I mean? Like he looks like
It's the smile. The smile is too perfect. It just it freaks me out.
That and the jawline,
It's too much. It's too much.
he just looks like he's always playing the part. It looks like he was picked out of Central Casting to play this part.
The thing is that I would say this. He is like the version of what a woke enemy of the state would be like. He looks like he is like a Fortune 500 CEO that's dumping like chemicals
he's
into
the
the
inside
ocean.
guy in every film, who is the corrupt guy within the government agency.
And he's so corrupt.
Yeah.
Buying land, going to the vineyard and just
During COVID, having
COVID
parties,
and everything
yeah.
else.
Heck, Boris Johnson got tossed out of Parliament for the same thing.
My goodness.
Now, they did try to recall him in California. Got very close. The only thing that saved him was Glenn Youngkin won in Virginia. And I don't know if it was the abortion issue or something. There's some issue that came up during Youngkin's election that he used to kind of fire up the
I think it was like parents
base.
and teachers and things like that. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
We were going to say, Jeff?
Oh, well, we're talking about a fight. So when we go and we get ready to watch a fight, whether
I mean, do we have stats? I mean, how tall are these guys?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I think if, I'm going to mention that, but there's one variable. I think, even though he doesn't look it, I think DeSantis is a little bit on the shorter side, maybe 5'10".
He's stocky, right?
Yeah. And I think he's probably, I'm going to guess about 160. I think I'm going to be close. Now, Newsom, if I recall,
is tall.
6'3", so he's going to have the reach on him.
Right.
But as the official Southerner on this, panel, as I like to call it, when I come to the yard sign.
Wow. I'm offended.
Aníbal thinks he's a Southerner.
I was born and raised in Lutz.
He's a Southerner at heart, but
there's an old saying about the size of the fight and the dog, but I believe DeSantis wins this fight.
yeah.
Because of the junkyard dog variable. I believe he's got a lot of
Well,
dog in him.
DeSantis looks like he can take a hit.
That's right.
Newsom,
Oh my gosh, yes.
Newsom looks like the type that he's got the reach. He can stay at a distance, but the minute you touch him, I think he's glass. I think he's done.
So I will say this. I did not know. I know that he went to both. I just did not realize Yale, Harvard, and then the Naval Academy.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, Ron DeSantis has, I think he has the scrap in him.
Oh, to get through the Naval Academy, man,
Yeah.
you gotta be able to hold your own.
Oh, he also went to Dunedin High. So, like, like it's not a Sickles. It's a struggle bus out there.
So you're saying he probably had a shotgun rack in his truck, is what you're saying?
All I know is Redwood High School from Gavin Newsom sounds like a nice hoity-toity, suburban place. I'm actually looking forward to it.
Well, I mean, he's Pelosi's nephew.
Oh my gosh. It has a vineyard right outside of it in in California. My Lord. Oh, this is fancy. Redwood High School.
All right, so Newsom's what? 6'3"?
Very fancy.
6'2", 6'3"?
Newsom is 6'3".
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get DeSantis' height? Because I think you're right.
It is not on Wikipedia.
No?
No,
I think you're right, Jeff. I think it's
Jeff
like
is
5'11".
Yeah, Jeff is right though.
I think he's. I'm going to give him 5'10".
5'10".
Is he doing a Marco?
Well, because we've got a picture with him.
We do have, and he was your size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's leaning over to be in the picture, but he's not leaning over much.
Redwood has a marina. Oh my God, this is too hoity-toity. And they have what's it called? Solar pads on their parking. Okay, no, this is too hoity-toity.
And listen, Newsom's probably going to start crying in the first round. Something's going to happen. It's not going to be good.
Oh my God, I'm excited for it. He's short. Yeah, but Licata, you're like 6'2" also, so like it doesn't matter. Chris Licata is saying that that DeSantis is shorter than him. Of course, he's shorter than him. He's over 6 foot.
Yeah.
We'll get those numbers out. I'm not surprised it's not on Wikipedia because.
But again, the thing is look, the problem is to kind of wrap this up politically. I mean, Newsom is coming at it he needs the points. I mean, California's in bad shape. He's making a lot of bad decisions. When it comes to COVID, Newsom got beat by DeSantis all day long.
All day long.
But he knows that if he runs for president, DeSantis is probably going to be the guy on the other side.
Well, also, would you really see it that Newsom would go against Biden? I think the only way.
No.
Yeah, I think the only way
said the only way he would run is if Biden doesn't.
I agree with that. I don't know.
And Biden himself is starting. I mean, again, and we may be reading too much into it, but based on the 60 Minutes interview he did about a week ago, he said, well, I can't really say anything to the affirmative at this point, and he kind of danced around it. Yeah. Now he's saying it's because of legal election kind of processes that kick off if you were to even say that you're running for re-election, and he's kind of dancing around it that way. But there's people within the party that have already pretty much discounted him and saying he's not going to be the guy.
I don't like the idea of having two 90-year-olds running for president again. I'm not into that.
Well, I mean, the way it's going, Trump may not be able to run.
Oh, that Trump
which is what the left wanted. They're trying to inundate him legally.
Oh yeah.
To prevent him from running.
I will say this right now. If the more spotlight you put onto Trump, the more likely it is for him to run. I don't understand why people don't understand
it's
that
just
concept.
not, but I mean, it's just not going well. I mean, these lawsuits by the AG in New York, I mean, are very real, not going his way.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I know we were talking about in regards to the financial disclosures that they're putting on. You're then saying that the banks were taken advantage of when all the loans that they're talking about were paid in full and paid properly. So at the end of the day, the banks made the right decision in giving him the loan.
No, I know, but again, it's not about that. It's not the January 6th committee is not about.
No, the January 6th is a whole different conversation.
But what I'm saying is all of this is a concerted effort.
I know, but if he wins,
to anchor him down enough to where he's going to be like, you know what, I can't.
But the American people don't care about that. The American people do not.
Well,
care.
Especially if you're already on Team Trump. I mean, it's.
But that's what 36% of the Republicans are already there. Also, another good point to make about Dunedin High, I didn't want to say this, there's a mobile home park right next to Dunedin.
Advantage DeSantis.
Yeah.
It's huge. That's a whole nother.
There were fights after school.
Of course. Literally, it's connected to it. It's called the Lake Highland Mobile Home Park plus 655.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
It looks really nice. There's a little lake in there. There's no marina attached to the school.
One thing about Trump running, though, I think in his last 3 or 4 rallies, and most of them are always similar, but he's alluded to the fact that he is going to run. If you say we're going to do it again.
Yeah.
He's putting
I know he wants to. I know mentally he's there, and mentally he's all in.
Yeah.
I know that's absolutely his goal. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that both the January 6th committee, these lawsuits in New York. I mean, there's a lot on his plate right now, but it's all by design in an effort to try and prevent him from running.
The problem is if they cannot get they won't get a conviction in New York. They won't get. I don't think they'll get a conviction in January 6th. So then they just gives him more fodder to say, look, they're coming after me because they know I'm going to do a good job.
Yeah.
They know they can't stop me when it comes to policy. They have to try to do a technicality. And I think that's going to make more people upset when it comes to what's happening. And again, you can tell when Biden doesn't have a cookie, and you can tell when he needs a nap. Like that, it's getting really bad, and it's becoming an issue now.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, the other thing that has liberals scared is when these reporters, you have Maggie Haberman from the New York Times just wrote a book, and I'm not going to tell you the name of the book because I'm not here to plug her, where she's claiming that Trump is talking trash about DeSantis. Okay. Now, again, I think all this is their effort to try to create storylines where there are none. Again, I mean, there are a few governors I know that were earlier on Team Trump than DeSantis. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was one of the first guys, and in fact, that's, I think, the reason why he won. Because remember, Putnam kind of stayed put, kind of stayed out of that whole situation. DeSantis was on Team Trump right away, and I think that gave him the edge to win in the primary. But for what the media is going to try to do is to try to create this, because again, they're trying to attack from all sides. And so they're attacking Trump again on the legal front, and now from within the party, they want to create a distrust. They want to create this unsettling element there, and as far as who's supporting him, who's not, who's loyal, who's not, because they know how much that means to Trump, and they know he reads the New York Times. He reads everything with his name on it.
Yeah,
and so it's kind of pathetic when you see these quote unquote journalists, again, kind of trying to lay the groundwork for these absurd storylines.
Yeah. And I just wanted to follow up on you talking about the 90-year-olds running. And I don't know how to put this into a box and talk about it, but at some point, I mean, I'm older. At some point, we need some younger presidential candidates.
Yeah. I think we've got them. We've got them in the stable.
Yeah.
we have them. I agree. That's a great analogy. I think we have them in the stables. I think a lot of people are gonna. I don't see Trump as a 90-year-old. I honestly see him like a 65-year-old because the way he runs and the way he's always done. He's always been high energy. He doesn't need additional stuff to be pumped into him to stay awake. The energy feeds him, and he loves it. So again,
That Diet Coke.
to see. And again, the handicap last time was the virus. That was a big handicap. It was something that he wasn't gonna be able to go overthrow it. So I think now that we look at it, and if he's able to run a normal election again, like he did in 08, I mean, this is gonna, in 08 at 18, this is gonna go crazy. I think you're gonna see the rallies, you're gonna see everything big again.
What unfortunately needs to happen, and this is where I don't know if Trump has it in him, is that if he were to run again and it were not to go his way for whatever reason, is accepting the results and just moving on. And I'm not saying like right off into the sunset. He's still going to be a very active figure in Republican politics. But I think you say, you know what? Take the L and move on.
But that's the thing. Do you want the risk to take the L, or do you want to just be a kingmaker? Trump could easily be a kingmaker.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But if he doesn't take the L and he starts to say, well, they stole the election again, and I should have been president, and he starts that whole cycle all over again. Again, I think you lose a lot of credibility there, and I think that hurts him more than helps him.
Again, you have the contrast of having a weak president in Biden to be able to now show what Trump did, and a lot of people were very happy during the Trump administration and the Trump economy, and now you're seeing that people are just not happy anymore with what they're having right now. And so I think there's a lot of way to move around into that, but I really want to hear the thoughts of like, what do you think the Trump ticket will probably even look like this cycle?
I mean, Pence is out. What's interesting is how hard it is to predict who's going to end up on the bottom of that ticket, because again, who saw Mike Pence coming? I don't think anybody.
Kimberly Davis.
Yeah. Okay.
Jeff.
If she can prove that she called that, I'll give her $100.
Hey, don't. Please don't try her.
Yeah, no, she probably has.
I mean, by the way, she went 100% on the primary. In case you don't know, now you do.
I have no comment. I'm not even going to look at you right now.
I don't. I think there's probably a couple of females, strong conservative females.
Yeah, I could see that.
That I think would make sense for him.
And he does well. Again, a lot of people, aside from the picture they tried to paint of him,
be very careful what you're about to say.
The picture they tried to paint of him in regards to how he treats women, he actually has always, his entire career, he's always had very strong, successful women as part of his team.
Well, yeah, because you can pay women less, right? That's how that works.
Jesus.
Well, I think you got some solid, experienced political females that could fill that role. And let's don't forget, what I love about Trump is he fought for me.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you fight for somebody, or that's the perception, it comes with a little bit of divisiveness or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And I think having a strong female conservative plays right into easing that back for maybe some of the independents.
So speaking of strong female conservatives, which we're going to try to get to at the end of the show. I mean, this woman that got elected in Italy, holy cow.
She's amazing.
Wow.
Did you hear the speech?
Oh, yeah.
She's really good. We're not going to go there.
I watched it like 3 times.
I watched it once. I thought it was very good. And it's fascinating to hear what the media tries to spin and say, oh, she's the first one since Mussolini. Oh, really? We're gonna say that? My goodness.
Well, again, I mean, I love how Ken Burns goes on. I feel like Trump now. Ken Burns goes on CNN. So Ken Burns goes on CNN and he starts promoting his latest rehash documentary, because at this point, I mean, really, what hasn't he already covered? Yeah. So he's got a Holocaust documentary that he's out there pushing, and I'm sure it's phenomenal because he's a very talented guy. But then, of course, has to try to connect the dots to Trump and the Hitler regime. It's like, why? I mean, the worst atrocity in the history of this world, of this planet, and and to really make that comparison unnecessarily.
Well, yeah, you have to get the boogeyman.
Right.
Orange man bad. That's what they've been doing. Now, Kimberly Davis says she has 2 theories. It could be a Trump Haley, or it could be a Trump and Tim Scott. I love the idea of a
I don't
Tim
know.
Scott.
I think Christine Nome is in that conversation.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Carrie Lake was in that conversation. If Carrie Lake doesn't win, which I think she's going to
win, yeah.
But if Carrie Lake doesn't win, she's definitely in that conversation.
Well, now you don't need a hard Christian conservative like a Pence to balance out Trump.
Right.
Now you need someone that's just a very very conservative, and maybe a female or a minority, and that plays really into the new scope of where we are right now, because he has the conservatives, he has the religious conservatives, the evangelical, he has that branch already, and he has a lot of people, the military, he has a lot of people, business owners, so like they're rebuilding the party right now.
Yeah.
So
I don't think Pence was strong enough to stand.
Get up on the mic.
I don't think Pence was strong enough to stand by Trump. I think some of the names you're mentioning, I mean, Trump overshadowed Pence. I mean, he was like a, do boy, or he's here for the ride.
He was a good old boy.
I think you got to have.
He served the role that a vice president's supposed to serve, which is to get you the votes that you can't get on your own.
Yes.
He brought in the ultra conservative voters. He was kind of a sign of approval from the far right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Exactly. He was also an establishment vote. Exactly right. And I think he put a lot of your Republican voters, your conservative voters who were a little uncomfortable with Trump because of his past and whatnot, and he put them at ease and made them comfortable with voting for Trump, because now you had a trusted, experienced someone that was going to be there kind of on the right side to give him some guidance.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kimberly Davis has a quite interesting analogy on the comment section, which I will not be making a referral to. So if you have time to look at the comment section for Kimberly Davis at this timestamp, I would recommend that you do, and laugh when you read it. I don't disagree with anything that you guys have said. I like the idea of a second Trump administration. I love it. It just depends how bad it gets, honestly, and how big of a red wave this is going to look like. And again, we're kind of overshooting what we're really talking about right now. But again,
not that it would ever happen, but you know what would really like rock the boat. And again, it would never happen. But if Trump really wanted to come in and basically just blow the house down, would be putting like Tulsi Gabbard on the ticket. I mean, it would, obviously Republicans would be so furious.
We keep passing by the number one request of all conservatives.
What's that?
Trump DeSantis.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's never going to happen.
It can't happen. It cannot happen.
The minute he moved to Florida, he kind of, he killed that. He kind of killed that. But there's a lot of really good options out there, I think, but what I mean by Gabbard is obviously she would bring in a lot of that moderate vote, that moderate liberal vote, even some progressives. Well, I mean, she has a following.
It's the NPAs. That is the new game right now.
Yeah, that's it. That is the NPA game.
And again, we all know this game because we live in Hillsborough County, which is a turning bluer every single day because of all the transplants, and no real working from the party here. But we are now in third place in Hillsborough County.
Yeah.
We are behind the NPAs.
Because nobody's going after them.
Yeah, and again, I have to preference this. What's happening now that the party's doing is good. We are doing door knocking. We are getting people energized. It's perfectly fine. That is good, and that's what needs to get done. But that is not going to win Hillsborough County.
Right.
What wins Hillsborough County is year-round voter registration. What wins Hillsborough County is expanding the base and getting good candidates to do county-wide races. We used to, what was it, less than 10 years ago, we had every single constitutional position in Hillsborough County. Now we have one, and that is the sheriff with a great shirt size. And so I think I think what we need to really understand is that we don't play in a red county. We play in a purple county, which means that we have to be very strategic about our candidates, where our money goes, and how we do our resources. Because until we can figure out and undo the mess of the voter registration, we're never going to win.
What's sad is
we're almost 50,000 votes behind the Democrats.
What's sad and frustrating about Hillsborough County right now, and sorry to get hyper local for anybody who doesn't live here, but is the fact that we do right now have an incredible crop of candidates that came by no work of the Republican Party here in Hillsborough County at all whatsoever, because they do no recruiting. And if they had, imagine if they did put in even just the slightest bit of effort, imagine the crop of candidates that we'd have top to bottom. Imagine the position that we'd be in this county to win, to actually win the important races.
I remember walking into the REC meetings, and every elected official in the county was there.
Oh yeah,
I remember meeting everyone.
They've avoided that room like the plague now for probably about 4 years,
well,
5 years.
When you call everyone a rhino, it just no one wants to go.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense. Jeff, do you have an opinion on this?
No, I'm gonna pass.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching The Yard Sign, the most important relevant podcast in politics. Again, climbing up the ladder, one of the top 150 podcasts in the country when it comes to politics. Denebel David Cabrera, Jeff Hawks, Johnny Torres with you tonight. Thank you so much. We hope that while you are watching the show, you are also getting prepared for Hurricane Ian, as we've prepared our studio here. We were kind of tiptoeing already on some of the local races, and Ebel wanted to get into a general election update. So, it doesn't surprise me. A lot of this stuff, again, we're just culturally in a place where we have a very short-term momentum. Our initiative, our motivation has a very short fuse on it. Obviously, when the Dobbs decision came out by the Supreme Court, putting abortion back to the states, that has fired up across the country a lot of women to vote, and especially a lot of liberal women to vote. And we haven't really seen that here in Florida. But I think that has been counteracted by a lot of conservatives moving to Florida, who have decided to relocate here permanently, and it's kind of canceled some of that out. So what are you seeing so far, Anibal, in terms of what the midterm elections are going to look like?
So there was a Washington Post ABC poll that came out today, and it was quite interesting. And I'm going to read throughout the poll, and I think we might have it available. I don't know if we have it available as a screen, but we'll see how that rolls. New Washington Post ABC polls show Republicans in the driving seat. GOP leads general ballot by 5 points, 5%, 51 to 46 among likely voters. Some of these topics I was very surprised about in regards to seeing how that would work. In the economy, Republicans are plus 16. Education and schooling, Democrats are only plus 6. Inflation, Republicans are plus 19 to handle it. Crime, plus 14. And then the only other one that I think we're going to have an issue with is abortion, which is plus 20 for Democrats. And climate change, which is plus 23.
Yeah, look at that number on immigration.
Yeah.
Wow.
I am shocked. I am literally shocked that we don't have a higher that it doesn't go into the Democrat.
Well, especially given right now the fact that is, and I think it's because the Biden administration has been so coy as to, again, spread the illegal immigrants that have come into this country, spread them out around the country. People, want to fight all day long about Martha's Vineyards and these buses going to D.C. and Chicago. But I'll tell you what, the Biden administration for months has been flying immigrants to facilities all over the country because the border is overwhelmed. We are projected to have over 500,000 illegal immigrants this year alone, over 2 to 3 million illegal immigrants just in this administration's first almost 3 years, and so it has allowed us to focus on other issues because it allows the media to get away with focusing on other issues. But this immigration problem is huge, and you're right. I think the only reason it's a D1 is because it's not being handled, and it's not being covered by the media. Again, everything else. I'm surprised the Democrats are winning on education in schools, given how horrible they did through COVID.
I'm not, because in all the other ones, it was double digits, and in that one, it's a 6.
Yeah.
So education and immigration, I think we can sway into.
If you were in a blue state that had a lockdown for more than a year, in some cases 2 years, that these schools were shut down, your kid is now literally about at least 2 to 3 years behind.
It's going to be interesting to see what that looks like in that generational gap, to see how the anxiety of these kids, how they're dealing with getting back into normality. Could you imagine again, we had half a school season, right? That we were out March until April until that end of the year. And then we went on to online, and then we eventually transitioned back into school. So we had, some periods of that closures, but we got back to them, I think, in January or December of the following year. We were able to get back into schools. Yeah, that August, yeah.
I think, I wanted to jump in here and kind of talk about the general election locally in terms of grassroots. I think the poll reflects for all those that are getting out there and knocking, and we're selling our candidates, and we're pushing these great candidates, Jay Collins and some of these others. But the one thing about the general election that I got to say, as a guy who started grassroots, is we came out of the primary kind of intact. Grassroots weren't really fighting with each other, for lack of a better word, and you've got some local grassroots organizations, and I'm just going to say their names, Terry, Susan Nicely, the Emerson brothers. These guys are doing a hell of a job getting out there, doing their part. And
they see the big picture. They all they care about is the big picture.
And a couple of other things. This I don't know him very well. I've just met him twice. This Jimmy Hickey with the DeSantis campaign has been dropped into Hillsborough, and that guy's doing a fantastic job keeping grassroots together. And I'm just, one more AFP is also getting in the mix with our local candidates, and it's incredible.
And I'll give him credit while you are, is that also my buddy who used to be my assistant at Senator Rubio's office, Taylor Sanchez, also got picked up by this DeSantis campaign, which we always complain every cycle that these campaigns bring in kids from other states and other cities, that don't know the lay of the land. Sure. Picking up somebody like Taylor who knows the region inside and out, knows all the major players, that is huge for a campaign to bring on and have that kind of knowledge on day one.
This cycle, I think we've done a much better job when it comes to the infrastructure, I will say.
Absolutely. But to wrap that up, and I may be the only organization that's going to say it, the primary, we struggled. We were, a one-legged duck, and with volunteer engagement. But I'm telling you, the last couple of weeks, with the groups working together, with some of the leadership, especially from the DeSantis campaign, they are getting out there. Just down on Gandy on Saturday, we had 16 to 18 people knocking doors. I haven't seen that since Trump.
Yeah,
it's a fantastic job. In the general election, when you're talking to people about our local candidates, is mimicking this poll slightly.
Yeah. Well, and this is the roadmap.
Yeah.
Every Republican should be talking about these issues and these issues only. So the economy, inflation, crime, right? Those are the big three. All right. That's it. That's all you got to talk about.
That's it.
And honestly, here in Florida, you can absolutely talk about education in schools.
Yeah.
And so, that's where this state is ahead. That's where this state is doing well. And again, we're going against the grain, in terms of our numbers, in terms of, and I mean, think about it. I mean, think about how much better of a situation we'd be in if we were still under a Republican administration.
One more point. You mentioned candidate pool or bringing on better candidates. Imagine if we had an organization that were leading all these grassroots and pulling us together, because the want is there.
Right. Instead of keeping you out. Right?
I mean, it's just it's crazy to think about what these clubs have had to do basically on their own.
Yeah.
And it felt like a bunch of islands, honestly. It's
and what's sad is that the problem is they also alienated a lot of the people that had multi-generational knowledge. Those people are long gone because they wanted nothing to do with this with this test. The what do we call it?
Litmus test.
The litmus test. How good are you of a Republican to be in this organization?
That annoys me so immensely.
And so this purity test that that the local county party has been doing for way too long, again weakens everybody. Because it has scared away all the donors. It has scared away all the people that had years of institutional knowledge.
Our retention is so low, so low when it comes
because
to the
they go in there
party.
and they're bickering every meeting. And anybody who's up on that stage is only there for self-preservation.
I love it when they do the they're not called bills, but when they do just
resolutions.
Oh, the resolutions. That has annoyed me so much. You're doing a resolution that will do nothing, and that is just prompting you to just stay focused on yourself.
Newsflash, if you were doing the right thing and you were leading this organization for the right reasons, guess what? You have nothing to be worried about. You would have nothing to be worried about because you're going to get reelected with no problem. It's when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing that you have to then go on the defensive and try to protect yourself from staying on the board at all costs. And that's why they're in such fear.
And at the end of the day, we have to make sure the 256 or 65,000 Republicans vote Republican.
Yeah.
Because how close was the election last cycle with Andrew Gillum?
40,000.
No, way too close.
It was too close, which means that every Republican, even though we're a county that DeSantis will probably not win, it doesn't matter. We need to make sure every Republican, every NPA votes Republican, so that we can make sure that at least we did our part in our county to make sure that spread is even.
But see, the sign of a good leader, and Jeff probably will agree with me, is the sign of a good leader, someone who admits what they know and admits what they don't know. And the problem is that the current Hillsborough County Republican Party is not willing to admit what they don't know. And they're not willing to pass on those decisions and those responsibilities to people who do know and do have that experience. And so that's why they keep making mistakes, and that's why they keep being irrelevant, because the decisions they do make don't produce any results.
You should not be telling organizations not to use your voter number because you don't like them. If they're going to go out there and do voter registration, let them do voter registration.
Of course.
Train them and let them go. Why has it become such an issue, just voter registration? And again, it's a numbers game. Will we ever win Hillsborough County as a outright if we do not have more Republicans than Democrats? No, that's not how elections work.
Yep.
No, it's a numbers game. And so our goal now is to get every Republican and every leaning Republican to vote, so that we can make sure that the margins are close, are good when it comes to the governorship.
All right. Thank you, everybody, again for watching.
Wait, one more
Oh,
thing.
sorry.
What were you gonna say? I saw you.
No, I'm good. I was going to say vote Bob Emerson in December, but I don't want to say that yet.
I love it. Oh, so is it Bobby that's running?
Oh my gosh, that's can we
That's
not
so inside baseball.
Let's not do this.
That's
right
way
now.
too inside
Let's not.
baseball.
We have other comments to talk about.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching The Yard Sign, the most important and relevant podcast in politics. Johnny Torres, live with an able David Cabrera, and a guest from Community Patriots, communitypatriots.com. Mr. Jeff Hawks. Again, we love Community Patriots around here because, again, they're all about supporting the Constitution, supporting candidates that support the Constitution, and about doing politics, the old-fashioned way, investing in the community, investing in the voters, and earning people's trust when it comes to getting people elected. And so visit communitypatriots.com for more details on how you can get involved, as again, we are coming up on a very important midterm election. We need to win the House, we need to win the Senate, and we can't do that without your support. So visit community-patriots.com. All right, we the best airport, according to what report was it? There was a national poll done. It's done every year, and Tampa International Airport. Their tag is TPA, by the way, Mr.
I always think TIA.
Of course, but it's not. Well, because people think MIA, but MIA doesn't stand for Miami International Airport. It stands for Miami.
So what is it? TPA?
It's TPA
because it's Tampa St. Pete.
No,
Tampa. TPA.
It's just TPA.
So
there's no rhyme or reason to it. That's just that's just what they called it.
So then there's no thing.
St. Petersburg Clearwater is PIE. I mean, it doesn't. Now you get it from the producer.
Yeah, she's usually right.
So, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, we now have a beautiful pink flamingo exhibit in the middle of the airport.
I love it.
This is all my praise, okay? Because when you're doing things right and you're doing going back to doing the things you're supposed to be doing, then yeah. Go ahead and spend whatever, if you want to beautify the airport and put this huge art exhibit, which is very cool. And it's very on message, with Florida and Tampa Bay.
It fits so well.
It's so cool.
It fits so well.
Just the visual kind of illusion of it.
It's
certainly better than that fishing net down over in St. St. Pete's Pier.
The struggle bus of that.
And I'm sure it would cost them probably a fraction of that. Because they think they spent $4 million on that fishing net.
We paid $500,000 for this one.
Oh, see, but I think this is far more worth it. This is the first impression that people are going to get of Tampa when they walk in. They're going to see this big, beautiful pink flamingo as they arrive. It is a literal work of art.
Yes.
Most people that have seen that fishing net out there by the pier have no idea what it is, other than it be looking like a fishing net. And I'll stand by the fact that it's ugly and unnecessary.
They paid $5 million for that thing?
Oh, yeah. Half of it was for the art piece itself, and the other half was to install it.
Oh, my gosh. Mm-hmm. No, I was at the airport today.
Thanks, Grayson.
I was at the airport today picking up friends and family that were flying back in because the hurricane's coming. And I walked over and I was like, this is a great piece of art. Like, this actually functions very well. You're able to kind of touch it and be able to do things. And so I'm okay with, and I agree with you. Tampa International has been doing such a good job when it comes to the build out, and just the way it's designed altogether it's a great airport. Awesome. And you can get in and out so easily. Yeah. It's not that difficult whatsoever.
It never feels crowded.
No, it doesn't.
Other than the TSA line can get a little crazy.
But even then, instead of us having one or two TSA lines where some of the other big airports do, we have
Orlando.
Yeah, with the way that our airport is designed, you have a little TSA at every single terminal. Right, it makes things so much easier to go in and out of.
And they actually just got the approval to build a new terminal.
Yeah, we're at Terminal E,
C, I think I don't know. But again, kudos to the team at Tampa International Airport, Joe Lopano, CEO of the airport. They also have that beautiful new building, that business office building that you come in. And I was one of the people, again, it just goes to show you the difference between, being kind of regular Joe citizen on the outside and then actually kind of being on the inside and learning how these things go about getting approved and why they get approved and why they're done in the first place. Airports don't actually make a lot of money from the airlines. Mm-hmm. They're capped off by the federal government as to how much they can charge airlines for parking at these destinations. They make the bulk of their money on concessions. Yeah. On the retail shops.
Don't get rid of that 1 hour. I remember they played with the idea of getting rid of the 1 hour free.
Oh yeah,
and people were pissed.
Oh yeah,
I was like, it makes so much sense to allow people to do that one first free hour.
Sure, yeah. Well, it encourages encourages you to go inside.
In and out, in and out, in and out.
I don't want to interrupt the love fest about the airport, but I do have one complaint with one of the new buildings. Have you rented a car there lately?
No.
I've had to reverse.
Yeah, out at the new,
new
building. The new
it's like a
building.
maze. I mean, I've got to reverse 4 times to get out of there. I need bigger signs or something. I mean, I'm like,
I will say I passed by that area just to look at it because I thought it was really interesting, and I didn't know how to get into the building.
Oh my, yeah, no.
And then I had to give
even
back.
getting in.
I had to give back a car, and I was like, I don't know how to get into this place.
Yeah.
I will agree to that. Yeah. I haven't taken the tran either to get to the. I wanted to. I was like, let me just park and then go.
But the whole reason, you see a lot of hotels around a lot of airports around the country have hotels built into them, and now we have this new beautiful office building that's right outside it, is because those are all revenue generators for the airport. Because again, the airport doesn't actually make money on the flights themselves.
I will say this: I think they've done a great job. That even the concessions, like restaurants, Buddy Brew's in there, Tempanos is in there. Like
that to me was a huge game changer.
Yes,
bringing in the local restaurants into the airport was a huge game changer. I'm not sure if Irish 31's in there. Actually, I think they might be.
Gasparillas are in there.
Chick-fil-A is
in there. So that's
great.
There's a Starbucks also. Also, it's Airside D.
Okay,
is the new terminal site that we'll be using. It looks very futuristic. I'm not gonna lie about that.
Yeah.
So we're really excited. Thank you. Congratulations, Tampa Bay International Airport, TPA.
All right. What's our runtime?
Are we doing good? Can we talk
126.
So close.
All right. We're gonna have to scrap it.
3 minutes. We got 3 minutes.
So it was hard to decide what the biggest international news story was going to be. Honestly, because Anibal, is the one that kind of proposes the topics, and then we kind of filter it down from there. And honestly, I could not decide what was the bigger international news story. Russia, basically reinstalling the draft in Russia to shore up more forces, which is a huge sign of weakness, in my opinion. 2, the election by what the media will call the far right in Italy, by what's her name, Olivia.
I don't know her name.
It's something like Olivia something.
Olivia Pope.
And then, what's the? And then Iran, and then the young girl who was killed in Iran for.
I would love to talk about Iran,
her hijab.
But we've had so many protests and so many people have died. Like, I just don't see it happening yet. So if something does come a part of it, then this will be the tipping point, because no one wants to see a young girl get killed because she was wearing her hijab incorrectly.
Jeff?
That's a big deal.
What about the Queen?
Oh, you didn't see the episode?
That was 2 weeks ago.
Oh man,
girl, you're done. You didn't see my outfit? I was wearing pearls. I was in full mourning.
Check it out.
Oh my gosh!
I was in full mourning. I had to put that whole outfit up and everything. I had my own air conditioning because it was so hot.
I thought the parade was still going on. I don't know.
Georgia Maloney.
Georgia Maloney.
See, when I first started hearing this name, Georgia Maloney, go around the internet, I thought it was somebody related to the actor who's on Law and Order, because his last name's Maloney. And I was like, what's going on with this? Who's this Georgia Maloney? And Georgia Maloney is the real deal, man. She talk about a full-blown conservative, like family issues. She's not playing the woke game. She's out to fight. Talk about a fighter. This lady's ready to go. Throw down, for conservative issues, and she is coming on strong. And she's, as she should, she's scaring a lot of people. About where she wants to take Italy. And I think Europe, especially after all this Russia stuff, hopefully settles down. I think you're going to see Europe in general start to maybe take a hard right turn, because nothing makes a country go conservative quicker than being under the threat of war.
Yeah. And it's not like Marine Le Pen in France. Like that one's a little bit too far, too close to like the Nazi party. Like that's just too much.
Yeah.
But with the one in Italy, I think it's a honestly, it's a breath of fresh air. Honestly,
Well, she's just talking about preserving family values, and preserving Italy's identity, which again is something that we hear a lot. I mean, we think we're having that issue here, in terms of preserving, what are American principles and the American way or the American dream. I mean, these countries that are surrounded by other countries, imagine having that influence. I mean, just coming in at all times from all angles.
and it's a different set of immigration policies that they're dealing with. At least in the United States, we're dealing with immigrants that are coming from the southern border that are honestly have the same faith as we do, somewhat of the same beliefs, and they're leaving because of just socialism falling apart and communism falling apart in those countries. Whereas you have in Europe, they're coming from the continent of Africa. It's a whole completely different culture, completely different religion sometimes, and like you can see what happens with 20 years of that in France.
Well,
there's some parts of Paris you cannot go to because it's become such a ghetto.
Well, and the question becomes, does she pull Italy out of the EU?
She has said that she is pro-Europe and pro the EU, so I do not think she will take them out, but I do think she will renegotiate the budgets for that.
Yeah, because again, I mean, the EU basically it has enabled, Europe's national identity for all these individual countries, basically to kind of, be just wiped. Just wiped from the whiteboard. I mean, it's and I don't mean that racially. I mean, it's just but I mean, a lot of these countries are struggling because they're having to redefine and rediscover, well, what does it mean to be British? What does it mean to be French? What does it mean to be Italian? Because now if you can travel freely among all these countries, well, I mean, what do those cultural identities look like?
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff, as the token minority on the board, how
Oh my God!
I don't know how much better to pin that up.
Oh, you could have been a little more direct.
I love my intros.
Yeah, it could have been a little more direct.
I think I think everybody on this, sitting up here tonight, and probably most of the people that watch it, we're from somewhere. We're Americans.
Yeah.
We know what we love. We know we know our story. And I think when you start, just because you bring an immigrant in, and I'm coming back to the EU on this, I think it's the EU and the leadership in those countries in Europe has allowed the EU to take away some of that pride. And some of the EU's like the voice. This is what we're doing. Yeah,
the immigrant to me is, again, coming from a family of immigrants. I'm first generation born in the United States. The immigrant's not the problem. It's when the immigrant tries to change the country that they're immigrating to.
Correct.
I think that is the root of the problem.
And I think there's, you can call it assimilation, you can call it whatever you want, but listen, in America, we love all kinds of cultural things, the food, whatever it may be. And I start talking with my hands and I get crazy.
That's the Hispanic.
Yeah, I think at some point in time when you talk about leaders that are coming forward with their values and standing up for their country, hopefully part of the red wave and part of where this world's going is we don't forget that. And you don't have to be divisive to do it, but stand up and represent where you're from. And if you're going somewhere, respect it.
Yeah. Why can't you be proud of your Italianness? Why can't you be proud of being Italian? And why can't that flourish in your society? It's not, again, I'm very proud to be an American. I am a first generation in this country. My parents made sure, and my grandparents made sure that we assimilated to this country so that we were able to take full ownership of what we do. And I say this all the time. I get so frustrated when people say that the American dream is dead, because it's not dead. I'm living the American dream. And a lot of us are every single day. Now, if other people around the country, that because of the policies that their governments don't allow them to do, I feel that the American dream is just slipping from them, that's your problem. You voted them in.
Lest we not forget, there are stories everywhere. Cuban immigrants, Italian immigrants, Irish immigrants that are proud of not only their heritage, but they're proud to be a United States citizen.
Oh, yeah.
It's all that we're talking about, mostly, in my opinion, is media-driven narratives with political agenda behind it
Yep.
to control, and it probably comes back to money. But you're right. The American dream is alive and well. There's so many people that love this country, and that's why hopefully you're doing this podcast. We're fighting for our country. We'll do whatever it takes, and, this is America, baby.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, Jeff Hawks, Community Patriots. That's community-patriots.com. And again, we've got a Pinellas chapter. There's a Hillsborough County chapter. I'm sure if you'd love to open a chapter near you, both Jeff here and Kim, I'm sure, would be involved in helping you get that up and running. Just reach out to them again through the website, community-patriots.com. And
Kimberly's having a great time in the comment section because of another comment she just made. So if you want to, I'm not saying it out loud. So if you want to timestamp this one as well, another one, something to do with Tennessee values.
Oh boy. I don't know if we want to get into those Tennessee values.
Probably.
Johnny, take us home.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you back here next Monday if the studio's still here. We hope everybody's going to be safe and sound through Hurricane Ian. Again, please make sure that you're prepared. Make plans to, if you are going to be leaving, make sure you follow through with those or hang back, but certainly have a plan in place to take care of yourself and those that you are with. On behalf of producer Anibal, Jeff, and I, we hope to see you back here next Monday night on the Yard Sign. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Bam, 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 bam.